Hello and welcome everybody. This is Chart Request Live. We do this show twice a week right here on Stock Market TV at 1 o'clock Eastern Time every Tuesday and Thursday. Joined today, as always, by Patrick Dunawilla of the Chart Report. How you doing, Pat?
You're doing wonderful. How are you?
Pat's on the charts today.
I'm on the charts. Look at this. We're starting off with the cup and handle. But no, yesterday a lot of attention on this year-to-date VWAP,
Mm-hmm.
the anchored VWAP. I
Mm-hmm.
know Brian was talking about it, but also a few others. And here we are. It's saving the day a little bit. We'll see if it can continue to hold. Obviously, not a great look if it does. I think that probably gets us to a retest of the breakout level.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, S&P 500 holding that breakout pretty well. Now you look at some of the others, RSP, ugly, mid caps, ugly. There's a lot of bad breaks out there. The most important index is holding. It's looking fine. I think we could probably escape this whole thing with just a classic retest in the S&P.
Yeah.
Um,
But
with
that's
a lot
still,
of damage in other areas, right?
but you say that, people will be freaking out on a classic retest
Oh
because
yeah,
that would be another 4% from here.
yeah. So basically, like
Fallen
twice
over
that.
4% from the high,
Yeah.
so that would put us close to correction territory.
And we're already at the CNN fear gauge fear thing.
Are we really?
Yeah,
That
we got
happens.
there very quick. What do you think of that indicator?
I don't think about it.
Right, fair enough.
No, it's
Uh,
not for me. But
yeah, I know they combine a bunch of different things, like it includes the VIX and
yeah,
I don't know.
put call ratio.
Yep.
So listen, failed breaky, right? Whether it's large cap materials, financials, healthcare, they all look like the indexes on an equal weight basis, like the I think you were just showing RSP.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of this energy, if you want to throw up energy, that's the one that's kind of safe, but teetering, right?
Teetering. Teetering.
And it becomes one of those things where it's like, well, if XLB failed, XLF failed, XLB failed, QQEW failed, RSP failed, energy is going to be the one that holds up. I wouldn't be shocked, right? If I had to pick a candidate to look different among the sector spiders, it would probably be energy. But if everything else is failing, these are stocks too.
I gotta tell you though, look at RSI. I think that's really encouraging that
That's
it's
great.
still above 50, right? I mean, I would have thought
And
it was.
great point. Watch the momentum readings. You don't want to see oversold readings on this corrective action, right?
Right. No, absolutely. And on the topic of relative strength, also during these pullbacks, that's a great time to observe what's holding up well, right? Looking for areas of relative strength. So when the market does turn around, those areas should hold up or should outperform.
I have a
Have
feeling we're
you
going to
seen
talk
any areas that kind of fit that description?
industry groups.
Yeah, like semis. Would you say they're holding up
No,
relatively well?
no.
The important ones are, right? SMCI and NVIDIA.
I mean, semis had a bad day yesterday. The AI stuff holding up better, sure. Nvidia, SMCI, these charts look incredibly constructive still.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I mean. Like if we lost those, then the market would really come under pressure, I think. Maybe not an SMCI because it's just not as big, but NVIDIA, if that thing corrected more, that would be
so Nvidia is reporting earnings here. Can you check on your chart?
yeah,
It's coming up.
May. It's a month.
It's still a month out.
Yeah, May 22nd.
Yeah, it's going to be a big report.
Yeah.
So,
Look at that. It coincides with that trend line right there. Imagine if we just slowly drifted into that during earnings and then, but we'll
wouldn't
see.
yeah. All right, listen, let's hit. We got some requests here. Let's hit it. So,
Cool.
another quiet day. I guess you guys don't like emailing us anymore. That's fine with me. Don't email me. DM me on Twitter. Dan, VTLE stumbled upon this small cap energy name. Ooh, I like it already. Double check me on the short interest. I will, Dan, while Pat's doing the chart. 37%, around 10 days to cover. Let's take a look here. 37% would be awfully high. Really high.
That does seem
Check
very high.
this stuff just so everybody knows. This isn't top secret data by any means. You can check short interest. I like to check on Barron's, but they have it on Yahoo Finance. It's free.
That's your go-to, Barron's?
This is all free. Yeah, Barron's is good. I listen. I'm a big Barron's guy. So short interest, I'm seeing 17%. Oh no, 37%. It just increased by 17% in the most recent short reporting period.
That seems weird.
So that's as of 328. We should have new data here today or tomorrow. Let me ask Sam. Yeah, we should have new data soon. But anyway, 37% short. Wow. What is the average volume on this? It's VTLE, Pat. Let me just
Yeah, here, let's.
quick here. So I'm seeing average volume, call it 195,000.
Oh, this a little light, but I mean, $53 stock.
No, I'm sorry. 760,000 is the average. Okay.
Okay, that's healthy. It's a messy chart, I gotta say. You know, it hasn't looks like it hasn't been making 52-week highs, or if it has, it hasn't really materialized into anything. You have this really solid support level here around, wouldn't let it go under 38, but really kind of messy trendless chart here, you know?
Yeah, it's
If
ugly.
anything, I'd call it a downtrend still, you know, it's still, if we zoom all the way out on a weekly chart here, you know, that's definitely not an uptrend here. So I think if you want to get into this thing, I think you need to wait for a breakout of 62, and that's those August 2023 highs or maybe September. But I think that would be your best bet as far as getting into it in the short term. Did he mention anything about time frame or whether he's in it already or?
No, he's just interested in the short interest information.
I mean, that really is something. 37%. There's something there. But sometimes things are shorted for good reason. You know, I don't think you can just go out there and pull up the list of heavily shorted stocks and then just go out there picking things. Other times things are shorted for good reason. So
Yeah, and this one they're piling into the shorts on strength. The short interest really just surged higher over the past few weeks here. I think your time frame. He asked about time frame. You always want a shorter time frame when you're playing a squeeze, right? And you want to get into momentum, right? So you want to enter on strength.
well, you can't be a buy and hold short seller really. So you got to be quicker. Well, I'm sorry, he's not shorting, right? He's talking about long.
He's looking to fade the short sellers and bet on a squeeze here. This reminds me of this Comstock Resources a little bit. CRK. That's another one that's on our radar. Hefty short interest. Yeah. But doesn't look great, right? That we can find energy stocks that look really good and also have a decent short interest.
I'll tell you this though, I like that this CRK, the levels are a little bit better defined, you know? Like at least you have a pretty clear level here. The other one was just kind of messy.
Here, I'm gonna give a bonus chart. CNX Resources. You want something in energy, really large short interest. I think double-digit days to cover. It's CNX Resources Corp.
Look at that. Nice little cup and handle, Steve.
Yeah. These are charts that we want to be buying. And then you have the added kicker of the shorts being involved, right? So, but it's still a chart that we'd be buying without the short interest, right?
And what did you say short interest was?
19%.
Wow.
Coming down too. It was like mid-20s just a few weeks ago.
Do you like to see it coming down like that, or?
It means they're covering.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's not that you like to see it coming down, but as price is rising, you would almost expect it to if you're getting a squeeze. What's different about the one that was requested, BTLE, is that short interest was rising. The shorts were still piling in as the price was rising. So not too squeezy yet. Maybe you get a move.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is great. All right, next chart.
That's kind of like the idea of waiting for confirmation, right?
That's right. Hansen, long Dell 2-month time frame. Tech leader, legacy tech, old tech, boring tech.
Dude, you got a Dell.
Tech.
You remember those commercials?
Yeah, dude, you got to get a Dell.
Dude, you got it.
And what was the one with the cow? Was that Gateway?
Yeah, yep.
Cow?
Yeah. What happened to Gateway? Man.
What happened to a lot of companies that built computers?
Right. So this one I already got marked up. Really, really clean chart here. Let's put it in a weekly to start. Broke out when it first, shortly after it IPO'd. Nice base here. Ran to, I'm not sure if that's anyway. Then we had a base on top of that. And then you really took off here in the fall of last year. And it's just been trending nicely, nicely higher. At this point, though, I think it's pretty exhausted. And you also have this nasty bearish momentum divergence here. So I wouldn't get too aggressive here on Dell. I think this one could easily pull back to one of these fibs here, retest, even retest this breakout level all the way down here. But it's been on an incredible run. And, you know, if you had to find a way to get into it here, you got a trend line here. I would look for some sort of retest of that. So maybe getting involved around 107 over here. That would probably be more appropriate. But this really freaks me out, the whole bearish divergence here. And it's just had such an incredible run. Really strong trend. It would be a name that I'd want to get involved in on those pullbacks. But it's kind of at a tricky place here. What do you think, Steve? Don't you think upside is probably limited here?
I think that's fair. Look, you know, momentum was cooling or waning in a lot of stocks all year, and those divergences that were recently confirmed, you're seeing not just further downside, but momentum accelerating to the downside, right? So this one's kind of like teetering on the edge, like you said, Pat. Any more downside, you get some sort of confirmed momentum divergence, break those pivot lows, then you're starting to fill a gap. So,
Yeah,
you know, risks are elevated right now with all these failed breakouts. You don't want to jump into something that's been losing momentum like this, because we're seeing in real time, just since late last week, what's happening to the names that have lost momentum, right?
Right.
Hit. So,
right. Yeah.
I'm with you here. Jonathan, thanks for taking my request. We didn't take it yet, but I see it here. ITA, long-term, on the long, stop at 120. This is Aerospace and Defense, A&D.
So you did finally get the breakout here in November. I'm not sure how this one differs from XAR. Is XAR maybe a little more
equally weighted?
Okay, so this one isn't as equally weighted, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So very, very well-defined level here at 120-ish. Not loving this, right? Again, momentum's been kind of waning throughout the breakout. So
waning, it's a good word, right?
It's a great word. It's a great word. It really is. So kind of looking heavy here, and you definitely don't want to see a fail break. I think the worst scenario would probably be some sort of like head and shoulders here, where it retests here and you get a successful retest, and then you go up and you don't make a new high. I think that would be probably the worst scenario. But you know, if we continue to hold this 120 level, you can fib it out and find a target here.
You know, one of the things he said was stop at 120. And I think we would both agree that's spot on. Maybe where you have these red arrows, the last 3 red arrows, what's that? Maybe a little push down. Is that 120? 18, you know?
So this pivot right here is like 118.
Okay, so 118, last line of support.
Yeah. But if it does hold that level, I think, that's not correct.
Let it run. Let it dance. He said long term. If it's above 120.
Yeah, I like it.
Where's the fib come in? The extension?
160. So if it's above that 120, 118,
right.
160 looks good.
Cool 33% off the breakout level, at least. Not bad.
It kind of has a similar structure to XLE, but not the same. No. And it's definitely not the same.
No. One of the more resilient groups within industrials, aerospace.
Aerospace? But it took forever. I mean, we're only just now breaking those.
Here's yeah. Listen, it's a slow mover. It's low vol. I call these are the boring stocks with industrial.
Is Boeing a big component of this one?
Way too big.
Okay, so that's
You know,
probably down, right?
we had this discussion on the morning show about what do you do when you want to buy a group and you want to buy a fund to express that thesis. This is Spencer who asked a great question, but there are holdings in it that I just can't own, right? Basically, he was talking about A and D, and he was saying, but Boeing's in there and Boeing's big, and I don't want that, right? I think it's the right way to
What
think.
was the ETF?
It was one of the aerospace. It was either XAR or ITA. I don't
Yeah,
remember. But that's a tough one,
that is
right?
a great question. Yeah.
And if you're big enough, and all of our transaction costs should be more or less zero, right? At least the fees we're paying to buy and sell. Just build your own basket.
What would you say about shorting the name that you don't like against
No,
the long position on the other? Yeah,
that's not for me. For some people,
it
that
just
probably
seems
makes
too
a lot of
complicated.
sense.
Yeah.
I would just go buy your Honeywell and your Raytheon and the good ones, and then leave the bad ones out. And if you got to buy 6 or 7 stocks to make your own basket, well, there's no transaction costs. So what's the problem?
Right. Yeah.
That's another way to do it.
Go out there and make your own
Jonathan,
ETF.
it's a good request there. What I will, one more thing about this, while I ramble, I'll just continue. The thesis here can't be because there's a war.
I was about to bring that up. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as long as that's not why you're bullish, fantastic. These are excellent stocks. They're not war stocks. They don't go up more when there are wars. That's all fun stuff that they tell you on TV, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What's next? So hi everybody in the chat. Oh, I see.
But it definitely holding up way better than some other areas for sure. Especially for an area that was a dog as far as it just took so long. There was big opportunity costs involved.
They're fine with them. Just don't think that like you're on to something and you're buying the war stocks, so you're going to outperform or generate some sort of alpha because there's a war and you're in defense stocks. I mean,
Yeah.
if investing was that easy, we'd all be retired.
What's that saying? Never bet on the end of the world because nobody's going to be there to settle the trade with you.
It's called counterparty risk, right? Go watch the video. You win a game that everybody loses. It's not really winning, is it?
Right.
So what's up, Mark? What's up, Donovan, Viper, Jonathan, Sam, Trend Spider?
Hey.
Stuff with Trend Spider. I think our charts might be looking a little bit different here next week.
I've been using Trend Spider. I really like their backtesting tool. Really, they have a great backtesting tool. You don't need to know how to code. You can just set in your parameters. What happens when the 50-day breaks? What happens and test it across all different tickers, not just SPY. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I hadn't been on there, checked out their new tools in a while, but I'm really impressed. Learning some new stuff. So I think we'll have a new chart platform here for the show in the future. Let's move on to Broadcom. AVGO, so good. I mean, this one, same category as NVIDIA, Supermicro. It's an AI stock. It's high and tight, given some back here the past few days. But boy, from a secular leader standpoint, it's a secular leader. It's a cycle leader.
Sorry about that.
On all the same lists as NVIDIA, Supermicro, and the stocks that have really held up and trended the best.
Let's just start from the beginning. Start fresh, yeah. So I mean, this was the big breakout here, right around I think it was like a week after NVIDIA actually. Actually, I think Broadcom last year. You remember around this time? This was when you got the NVIDIA breakout. Broadcom followed up like the week after, and I think it was bigger in terms of percentage.
Yeah, and I missed it.
The breakout. In terms of market cap, it wasn't as big. So it didn't help the indexes as much as NVIDIA did. But in terms of size of the gain, this is what I'm talking about here. When you finally got that breakout in May, in 2 days, it went 17%. And then look at this, just flatlined here. You got all that move in 2 days on the breakout, and then just nowhere for 6 months. More than that. And then finally resolved higher. Here we are, just kind of losing momentum since December. So we've been losing momentum all year. And yet the stock's gone higher, but it's just not a good sign. And if we start losing technical levels, then that momentum deterioration does really start to matter more. So I, I
One of
don't want to
those.
sound bearish here. I don't want to sound, like a Debbie Downer, but this is a super valid trend line here. Got to imagine we could probably come into here, test these former highs. Might be a
So
decent place to nibble. What do you think?
price doesn't have to go down to test the trend line.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That's a great point. And how do you want to explain that?
It was just the passage of time, right? If we
Exactly.
stay here and 2-3 weeks pass, we're at this trend line. So that's another way to do it.
The trend line's almost like a trailing stop, right? Where every day it goes up the bar goes up a little
Yeah.
bit more. So, um,
I think also though, this is one of those long-standing multi-month divergences. I think momentum peaked here in December, which is when momentum peaked for most growth things. It's when breadth peaked also.
if we really want to get cute, we can say momentum peaked after the breakout last year in May, because that's when it hit an all-time high.
Yeah,
But
you're right.
I think, the real deterioration is like what you're talking about since
High
December.
momentum readings aren't a bad thing.
No,
They
absolutely.
are waning, but we keep getting overbought at least up until what, April? We were at least tagging overbought
Yes, yeah.
on the
And here we
momentum
are.
spikes.
Yeah. At least we're not hitting oversold. That's good. That's great. But you want to see it kind of continue to not even get on this lower hemisphere.
Which it's doing so far. Listen, this
Yeah.
one to me, innocent until proven guilty. Earnings are coming up. We'll see.
I think that point you made about the trend line is so good, and it's something I've been thinking about more lately. Like basically, if this thing went nowhere, if it just flatlined until June, then all of a sudden you're at the trend line. You didn't really correct anymore in terms of price,
Oh, yeah.
but all of a sudden you're at that trend line and you're at a kind of make or break spot. Who knows? And that would be healthy if we just kind of consolidated until then.
Yeah, I'd be buying that trend line touch rather than selling it. So what's next?
And look at that. We basically did that here, right? We could have just pulled back and sharply retested this, but instead we let the trend line kind of catch up to the stock.
Yeah, what, 2 quarters of sideways get you back to trend. So
Yeah.
CHRD.
Ooh.
Energy.
Woohoo.
Interesting.
Man, maybe one reason the mailbag's been kind of light lately, Steve, is just the environment we're in.
How big is this? Yeah, I don't hate it.
I
I don't know what you've been
very
doing.
rare to find a setup like this. Well, I don't know what the CHRD is, but whew,
Oil and gas.
I'm
I don't know what you've been doing for your weekly videos, but we've been bringing really light decks, almost no new longs for like a month now. People had to be getting bored, but it was the right thing to do, right? Like,
yeah,
the last thing I want to do is just come and bring new long ideas
yeah.
just for the sake of having something to say, right? If I'm not doing anything, if I think the best course of action is to sit on our hands, we could just talk. We could do a little macro, talk about the market,
That's why I enjoyed our spaces the other day. I think we kept it pretty high level, pretty conceptual. I like that. It was good.
I always enjoy our spaces. Yeah.
Yeah. And for our listeners, come join us on Tuesday. You're welcome to come in, ask questions. We have a good time.
Tuesdays we do it at 11, Pat? 11.
Yeah, 11 Eastern, yeah. So this one, beautiful setup. Really love these ascending triangles right here. And I say it all the time, but the reason I like them is because there's some psychology behind the pattern. Yes, it's getting rejected at this horizontal resistance level, but every time it does, you're seeing support come in a little bit higher and higher. So the buyers are getting a little bit more aggressive on each rejection. So that's kind of bullish behavior. And then when you do get the breakout, it should resolve nicely higher. So you did get the breakout. You got the breakout earlier this month, and
confirmed.
Yeah.
Too, by a sweet overbought momentum reading.
Yep.
Get that momentum regime, Pat.
Great point. Yeah, and this is the first time it's really even been able to sustain itself above an overbought.
But think about it. It was not hitting overbought, not hitting oversold as it was ranging. And then as soon as it breaks out of that range, momentum surges to
that is a fantastic point.
High 70s.
So basically through that whole yellow bar, like right here, you didn't have momentum until the breakout happened.
Boom.
Bam. Yeah.
That's ranging momentum. That's what momentum looks like in a range.
That is
And
a great.
this, just recently, that's what momentum looks like in an uptrend. So I think this one's kicking off a new uptrend, just like we're seeing in the price chart.
That's a fantastic point. So they got earnings coming up on May 1st. Earnings don't seem to affect some of these oil and gas names. What was
Not
that?
as, not as much as the price of crude, right?
Right, exactly.
These income statements get very simple. You either hedge or you don't. You have a cost of production, which is whatever it is, which is different for every company. And then you have the price of crude. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you can, this isn't like trying to
Are you seeing this thing? What the heck? I mean,
What?
Went public in 2020 from 19 to freaking 170. Wow.
But XLE went 4x in that time too,
True. It basically went public like right after the lows in XL.
So you got a double dip in energy, right? Some things actually bottomed in November or October.
Hey, I think we gotta give them credit for going public at the right time, right?
Fantastic. Really good. So like here, I don't want to misspeak, but XLE was up like 300%, like 4x off its 2020 lows.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
All right. Yeah, this is XLE. CHRD really went public in the nick of time.
Yeah, wow, good for them. Hey, good.
And we're just starting to break out. I think this is a great opportunity. Was this someone in the mailbag or was this you?
CHRD came to us from Donovan.
Man,
Pat's
I don't know what else Donovan's watching.
Pat wants to see the rest of your watch list, Donovan.
Yeah, let's see this.
You done?
Me?
You're gonna give Donovan a price target so we can move on?
Yeah, I'll give him a price target. So you don't want to see it get below 173. That would be a clear failed breakout, but it's holding well. I don't think that's the likely scenario here. I think the likely scenario is that it trends nicely higher. And you could use a fib target for this. 235. So if it's above 180, 235, I really like that. And that seems realistic too. Doesn't seem like you're shooting for the moon.
No.
Beyond that, 323. Again, that's kind of like a measured move of this because you have 180 to 90, so like 90 points. Yeah,
I like it.
I like it a lot.
Yep. These are the ones that we want to be buying in energy, the ones that are breaking out of these ranges and holding, right?
Think of any other charts that look similar to this where you do have that just strong out of the gate performance and then just.
Oh, you mean off the IPO lows? Yeah. Really nice. I think we can buy successful retests on
for this one?
Green candle and some follow through, right? And stuff that looks exactly like this.
Yeah.
Okay. What do we got next? Chat is just bringing the heat.
I like it. Yeah.
INTU. Hey, this is Intuit's time, baby. So this is TurboTax.
You know more about tax season than I could ever know. So.
Intuit is TurboTax, right? Or is it the other one? Yeah, TurboTax.
Is it?
No. It's the other one. TurboTax is HRB, H&R Block. Intuit is, what is that other quick shit tax platform?
QuickBooks?
I think they do own TurboTax. I don't know. It doesn't matter. They own one of these tax guys.
So I don't love that it hasn't been able to break out yet. I mean, you got all the way back there, but here we are looking like a little rejection and momentum really on the edge there. So not a great look. It might need a little bit more time, but we've seen this time and time again with these charts that are recovering to their 2022 or 2021 highs. They'll get there, and then they need a little bit of time to absorb that overhead supply there. And that's okay. A lot of them do eventually resolve higher. So this one might just need a little bit more time. Maybe revisit it in the summer. or after the fall when the market kind of picks up again. But
Zoom out.
yeah, true. Hey,
This company is too good. Listen to their product suite. They own TurboTax, Credit Karma, another just huge brand, QuickBooks, which I love, MailChimp. Aren't you a MailChimp guy? Didn't
hey,
you?
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Early chart report days.
Yeah.
I think we were MailChimpers.
We
Right?
used to be MailChimpers. A great platform. Great platform.
So they have their hands in everything. I really like their brands. Big
thought
fan.
HubSpot bought them for some reason, but you're right. You're right. It was Intuit. Who did HubSpot buy? I don't know.
Buy this breakout all day. Like Pat said, it's not ready. It probably needs more time, but when you get it,
When you get it, yeah, it's definitely. I mean, and this is one of those stocks where before, let's cover up what happened in 2022. This would be a name where you're just like, man, what a great stock. But when do you ever get involved? It only gives you chances when the overall market's freaking out, like in 2020 and 2018. I don't know what happened here.
Why don't you zoom way out on a relative? That was a flash crash, dude.
Oh, right.
On a relative trend.
Oh, man. Wow.
Good stuff.
Great stuff. Yeah. So
performer as long as it's been a publicly listed equity.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So, might need a little bit more time, but that's completely normal. We've seen so many other areas of the market do that once they kind of get back to those former highs. They just need a little bit more time. So keep it on your radar for sure. It's one that you want on your shopping list, but I'd wait for that breakout above 700.
I don't know. What do you think? Does Sam get to request his own ticker?
Of course.
You want to take his request?
Well, yeah. What is he watching?
All right.
He did a great job last week. He really did. He held it down. What was it?
I didn't watch you guys. How'd you do?
Yeah, he did great. He did great.
I knew he would.
What's the one?
APOG, APOG Enterprises. See, Sam likes to fish in the right ponds. That's why we like Sam. This is building materials, and boy, is it fresh. This is a freshie.
I know what Sam's been watching, and I'm gonna guess this is a smaller cap industrial.
Let me see.
Yeah, 1.3.
Nice.
Apogee, building products. Yeah, I mean.
Did they just report, Pat? Is that why we're getting this gap?
Yes, sir. Yeah, looks like it. They reported this
beat.
morning.
Ooh, nice beat.
Yeah, I mean, you can make sense of these numbers more than I ever could. But
So beat on top and bottom. It looks like.
Yep. Estimate for revenue 337. They reported 361.
Yep,
Estimate for revenue $1.01.
Market's figuring it out now. This stick looked a lot better, I think, this morning.
Oh, dude, this chart looks a lot better when you zoom out, and it looked great before.
Fix your resistance line, my friend.
I should have known. I should have known Sam was going to bring the heat. I should have known.
This is like a wavy base.
This is a wavy base. My gosh. So this thing basing for pretty much a decade. I mean, since 2015, call it 9 years, whatever. But wow. Finally breaking out here. It looks like if it's above, call it 60, 61 breakouts on. It hasn't, I don't know if it's officially broken out yet. Oh, yeah, looks like it has. On a weekly closing basis, just starting to poke your head out. What a weird week it's been, because we kind of, look at that. We basically like engulfed. I mean, the body's not there, but look at that. Look at the range from this week, Steve.
Yep, love it.
We basically just tested everything.
Wide range candle. So we would call this a bullish reversal if the close were here or higher.
Yes. And look at this. Hold it. Yeah, it's come off its highs today, but holding the all-time highs really nicely, which I think is really important.
Flip it back to the weekly.
Yeah.
That candle is ultimately telling you is that we tested.
The
bears.
We saw it was down there. We didn't like it. Yeah.
Like we flirted with some downside. We flirted with a bearish resolution, and the bull said, and they flipped it higher in a short period of time, right? In 5 days. And if we get a close, like I said, here higher, solidifying that breakout, talk about actionable. This one is as clean as it gets, and I think you enter right here.
Ooh, Sam, bringing the heat.
All right, don't give him any more compliments.
Yeah, we can't let him get a big head. So this one, I think you're targeting 90. 60 gets you 90. That's a nice move right there.
50% all day. You know, in a world where small cap stocks are not doing well, this is one you want to be buying hand over fist.
Yeah, also, that's a great point. Yeah, great point.
In one of the leadership industry groups, right?
And what happens if they start doing well, right? If all of a sudden they start.
Is there a better industry group than building materials during this bull market? I know everybody's gonna be like, no, it's AI. It's not AI.
Dude, that's such a good point. Because you know what? It's not sexy. A lot of these names, APOG, I don't know what the heck APOG does. Doesn't sound nearly as cool as NVIDIA, but this thing is I mean, it's probably up more than NVIDIA in terms since 2020, which is probably cheating, but
the boring stocks are so sexy. Building materials is definitely that. I think DR Horton came out, had a nice report today, but they're kind of selling it. Anyway, back to the chat. Let's move on here to Ally Financial, ALLY. The bank's got to get up off the ground here. This one looks better than most. They do different stuff. I think they have like a credit services exposure that most banks don't have. But still, just a tough group to get into. I bought Wells Fargo calls this morning. Talked about it.
That's right. You mentioned that. What do you like about it right now? Well, let's look at that after.
Wells Fargo looks better than any bank.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, looks incredible. The banks are cheap, is the thing. We just need to know that their balance sheets are okay, right? So if you could find a bank trading at book value right now and their balance sheet's fine, I mean, you're getting them at a historic discount to their, typical average market valuation.
Any thoughts on earnings so far from what you're hearing from them?
They haven't been great, but the problem with the big banks, which have come out and reported now, is it's like the old General Electric reports. It's like 6 reports in one, right? They got the trading revenues, they got the M&A stuff, they got their consulting stuff, they got the capital market stuff, like underwriting. It's not just lending, right? Like the region. So it's very different. The read from the big banks is not the same as the read for the regionals and the community banks.
I see.
It's really just net interest margin, right?
That makes a lot of sense, yeah. So this one, hey, it's on the right side of the fence here. Looking awfully toppy here. You got the kind of nasty resolution, and then it pulled itself back up, got its act together, broke out a few weeks ago. Here we are successfully retesting the breakout. This week's candle is very important here. Yep. We whipped in, we tried, couldn't bring it down. And this very solid level. It coincides with the pre-COVID highs here. It's just been an inflection point so many different times. So if you're on the right side of the fence, I think that's good. And I think you're looking at, I think these are the all-time highs. Yeah, 56 or 55, around there, mid 50s, upper 50s as your target here. But it doesn't look bad. I think you probably want to look at it on a relative basis. You mentioned Wells Fargo. Steve, are there any other financials that you'd
This is good too.
classify as a relative strength leader?
Listen, I got stopped out of a bank this week. I got into a new bank this week. It's been a tough place to trade. It's been a tough group to trade all year.
Yeah.
This one looks pretty damn good though. This one looks so much better than most. Pat, if you charted it relative to like banks too, I mean, wow.
Oh, so I'm charting it relative to XLF right now.
Look at it relative to friggin' regional banks. I mean, that tells you all you really need to know. Look at Ally KRE. I don't know who requested this, but great job.
Oh my gosh. You kidding me?
Obviously. So this came from E Medina, obviously doing some great work at home, picking like the leader. I love that. if regional banks can find a floor, this is one that you want at the top of your list, right? So
Yeah.
green light from me for this guy.
Wow, look at that. And you're just breaking out, just starting
Yeah,
to break.
that's sweet. That's really nice.
Very nice.
Can I give you one that I like and own and want to own more of? Yeah. MBIN, this is Merchants Bank. MBIN, these patterns tend to fail in bull markets.
And what do you mean by that?
Why does your chart look so different from mine?
MBIN?
Yeah.
Huh.
I have the 2021 highs coming in around 40, but anyway. This top, if it fails, and this is just a little bear trap, turns into a bull hook, right? And we scoop and score. Oh, I love this.
I see what you're saying. So basically,
give them a level at these pivot lows. Yeah.
let me see if I'm following. So you're talking about this, right?
Right now, this is a valid top.
Well, wait, I'm still worried that I'm looking at something else. Are you sure?
Oh, this is it. This is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
This is it. Yeah. Right. So,
and we could draw a little head and shoulders in here if we want to get cute, but that's not necessary.
This is one of those banks that last year just looked different, right? It's a lot stronger. If you were to look at the relative trend for this one, it's excellent. Also, if this ends up being a failed top and we squeeze back above these pivot lows, I think you can enter there and bet on this one continuing its leadership. Yeah. Yeah. So this, I really like Merchants Bank. I also like the fundamentals here.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And the one I got stopped out of is CIB, Bank Colombia. I was like, okay, it's time. International equities. I'm trying to get some. I want some exposure. Got into this guy. It was working so well at first. I bought the base breakout.
Which one? This big breakout?
Yeah, I bought the base breakout around 30.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, down here.
I bought the retest, right? But
yeah.
I'm done. I'm out. It's out the other day. So
this right here.
That's where I got in, but my stop was higher. I raised my stop.
I see.
So I stopped
Bank of Colombia
at the pivot high from what, January?
Yep.
I got stopped out, I think Monday.
I see.
Yep, right there. Oh.
Yeah. Save yourself a headache.
Yeah. Some of these international banks look better than others, you know.
Yeah, I know some of the Japanese banks for a while were looking decent.
MUFG.
Yep.
HSBC looks okay still. What's the Mitsubishi one? That's MUFG, right?
I think that was MUFG, yeah.
All right, moving on here. So
hey, you know what actually looks decent for once, speaking of the banks? Deutsche Bank. I gotta say, Deutsche Bank hasn't looked great in a while, but look at this. I mean, finally coming out. So this thing's been trending lower since the financial crisis. I mean, just has never really recovered, but we just started breaking that downtrend line, and that's a very valid downtrend line. Just broke out in November. Here we are breaking the February 2022 highs, but holding up really well in terms of relative strength for the broader market. Really hasn't pulled back that much at all. And so if it's above this 15, looks good to get to 20. It's been I mean, these trends, these long-term trends, they take forever to turn around, and it's not something where you can even look back in a week and say, oh, it's making progress. It takes months, right? And we have to even look at these things in only monthly and weekly charts.
A lot of this, though, global banks, a lot of these 15-year pre-financial crisis downtrend lines breaking.
In specifically like European banks or?
Yeah, do BBVA or Santander. Banco Santander, SAN.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Now do SAN, draw the line quick, and then show them SAN, but like they're all the same. So structural reversals underway, for sure. Some of them slower to start than others, though.
Yeah. Santander, SAN?
Yeah, there's a couple, right? So like this is just
very clean.
This is what it is out there.
Dude, yeah.
National banks.
Great point, Steve. What a valid trend line. Look how clean that is.
My whole career, you would have gotten laughed at for buying any of these. That's changing now, right?
Right. And that's the point, right? Deutsche Bank. That's always been a joke to us. I mean, ever since I've been friends with JC for the past decade, we've been joking about Deutsche Bank every time it comes up because it's just such a dog.
Deutsche Bank was supposed to go to zero before Credit Suisse.
Right,
That was
right.
the playbook. Credit Suisse stole their thunder.
And you have this nice little, I mean, this doesn't look like a 3-year base, but I mean, since May 2021, so maybe two-year base, but here we are breaking out of a small little 2-year base and holding up really well in terms of relative strength versus the market. I mean, this is the last, what, 10 weeks here, and we're barely off the highs.
That's great.
So,
listen, don't sleep on TradFi, okay?
I know that's a great point. And how many times are some of the best moves where we're talking and we're like, wouldn't it be funny if this happened? Or wouldn't it be funny if that, because the crowd doesn't expect it at all. And those are sometimes when the best ones happen. Markets have a great sense of humor, don't they?
Some of the best trades are often the most hated ones, right? Or the loneliest ones.
Yeah.
You feel like you're on an island, like you're that weirdo like in the banks. Usually not a bad thing.
And I mean, there's been so many times when you like something, and I know you'll post about it or you'll talk about it, and then people will come in and be like, "Oh yeah, I love that one." And you're like, "Damn it!"
Yeah, yeah. Hey, that's why we're so lucky to have Twitter. That a lot of times, like I'm just kind of feeling out the crowd with some of these crazy ideas. Mark Zerby, love you, man. You get one request. XLU SPY, give them a little ratio analysis real quick.
Ooh, that's a great one to watch right now. I'm glad we're doing it.
Why? Tell me why.
Well, so I mean, utilities have been picking up pretty notably yesterday they outperformed really by wide.
Pat, yesterday on a relative basis, XLU SPY had its best day since over a year.
Ooh, yeah.
One of its best days of the past several years.
Ugh. Yikes. Yeah. Since
so that's not the most bull market action, albeit one day of action.
True. And I wouldn't really get too concerned until you reclaim these lows, right? This 2021 low. That would be concerning because that's telling you that something might be going down. And you don't want to see utilities start ripping on a relative basis. That's never good. And for people who don't know, it's kind of like a flight to safety. Utilities, staples, they've always kind of been looked at as safer sectors. So when the market sells off, you often get this rotation out of cyclicals and consumer discretionary and some of the more aggressive areas of the market hide out to this flight to safety and utilities and staples and things that people are going to keep consuming. Even if the economy is really bad, you're still going to be paying your electric bill, hopefully, and your water bill, things like that.
Yep.
So that's why we get concerned when we start seeing that flight to safety, when we see utilities pick up relative to the broader market.
I'll give you an even better line in the sand for this.
Sure.
Look at DJU, DJI, flip it to like a weekly and zoom all the way out. So
is it Dow Industrials versus, I'm sorry, Dow. Go ahead.
Dow Utilities, Dow Industrials. So we're big intermarket people. So like these trends are in our brains. So I see this one in my sleep. Zoom, 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 zoom. Go back. That's it.
There we go.
Look back higher there. Maybe that's the start of something. Then the level that Pat outlined in XLU SPY would be like, the next step there. But this is big.
Yeah, that is concerning. That's concerning a bit.
So a little bounce off a logical level. We'll see. For me, it's still a bull market. I got to see so much more from the defensive trade before I really start to worry. We can look at other things like credit spreads, risk appetite ratios. Things are really holding in.
I was thinking yesterday, I was like, man, when are we going to start hearing about credit spreads? That's when we're probably near bottom, is when we start seeing those credit spread charts. That's when you know.
I mean, just looking at, they're not moving. They're not even budging. So everything seems more or less okay from a macro standpoint. Let's flip it back to the chat here. We'll do another one from Mark. Uh, countries that are holding up on relative terms. Look, France, failure. Spain, failure. A lot of failed breakouts. I think Denmark, failed breakout. He's throwing EPI in the mix here. I like India. EPI is a preferred vehicle, but I think if these new or yeah, if the breakout in INDA doesn't hold, I don't think you want to be an EPI either.
All right, let's look at that one too after this.
Yep. So this is the India Earnings Fund. Wisdom Tree does a great job with their funds. This is a pretty active fund. They're picking names, right?
Oh, okay. Wow.
The other one I think is the Nifty 500. And then INDY, I believe, is the Nifty 50. So INDA gives you the broadest look at the actual, India stock market. And you want that chart to be holding up if you want to be expressing a bullish thesis in some sort of niche India ETF. This is like an earnings fund where they overweight ones with good fundamentals, yada, yada, right?
Yeah, so I mean, it's losing momentum right next to its target, right? Never really reached that fib level, but it's damn close enough, and I wouldn't be pressing it here. I think you want to see it either consolidate here for a few months and then break that 45 level and resolve higher, or you get the retest and you get involved on the retest here down at 38. But it's kind of reached its upside objective in the intermediate term, and here we have momentum. Not terrible. I mean, it's staying out of oversold, but it's just not giving you much. It's not super bullish, not super bearish. So just kind of you're just waiting for either consolidation here or retest. But let's check out INDA. Already have that one marked up here.
2-minute warning.
You were saying if this thing fails, right?
If this fails, I don't want to own anything India.
Yeah. And this looks a lot worse than the Wisdom Tree one. I mean, this one, momentum couldn't even get oversold or overbought on that last all-time high here. So it's skating on thin ice. If it can't hold, then maybe, I would hate to see it back here test those pre-COVID highs. That would be bad.
Okay, we're going to flip through a couple quick ones and get out of here. Pat, you got 1 minute each.
All right, let's do it.
Futures, CC.
All right, Cocoa Futures.
Look at that. Don't even redo it.
Yep, not even going to do it. I'd be really careful when things go parabolic. And if you're not someone who's used to trading Cocoa Futures, don't do it. You don't want to get involved and be learning how to trade futures.
The time to be buying cocoa, zoom out, Pat, was about 300% ago.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it can't still be a good trade, but if there ever was an easy trade or easy money in cocoa, it has been made 3x over.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. This is parabolic. So
a massive breakout, right? Wow.
As technicians, we can identify a parabolic uptrend, but we don't have many tools to tell us then what to do, right? So
I actually had this fib level here. This is the fib based on the log scale, because this thing was just so messed up. I mean, I don't normally do that, but that's when I will use a fib based on a log scale, because it's a parabolic trend. I mean, it's just insane. But anyway, sorry.
Don't we always use our fibs based on a log scale?
No. We actually use the non-log scale for the fibs.
I told somebody the wrong thing. App non-log.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's what I have it set to. It should be based on, you should be able to redo the math based on the start and the ending point. That's not log, that's arithmetic.
Right. Most of what you guys do is the arithmetic.
Always arithmetic then.
But I'll tell you, I think sometimes it's worth switching and seeing, because a lot of the times in charts where you have some sort of messed up scale where things have either shot up a lot or really come down a lot, I find that they work. The fib based works better on some of those.
Basically, you should be able to easily recalculate your extension by taking the difference between your start and your end. Say that's $100, right? Then to get to the 161.8 fib, if it's $100 between start and end of the fibs, you're basically adding 61.8 onto upper bounds, right? And that's it.
But
Whatever that number is. It should be very easy to recalculate.
you're multiplying, right?
No.
No.
So you'd be, say your fib went from literally 0 or a penny to 100. So your range is 100. That 161.8 will be 161.8.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Coinbase, you got 1 minute.
No.
I'm not saying anything. Don't ask me because, guys, if I'm putting a kicker on coin, you will hear about it.
Dude, everyone wants to hear your take on coin.
I remain long common. My position is, God, a quarter of what it once was. And it's still large.
Just because you've been trimming?
I mean, you got to trim.
Yeah.
I was in Coinbase at 40.
Oh my gosh. Back when you were being laughed at for it too.
42, yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's all the way down here.
Like
man.
I wrote it out. Yeah, I was long this thing for a very long time. And I still am, just not nearly the size of that I was. Listen,
So what do
this
you think about these levels I have drawn? Would you agree with them?
Hell yeah.
Here we are testing these post IPO lows, holding really nicely. We found some support this week. When we tried to break them, didn't want to. Looks like all-time highs are next, Steve. 390, 400. How's that? I don't think I need to give anything else. I think that's it. So
That's
if
it.
it holds
Fantastic.
200, you're looking at 400. You're looking at a double after an incredible run.
Okay, good. Uber for 6 to 12 month time frame. This will be the last one. Great request as always in the chat today, guys.
Yeah, so this one I already have marked up. Next time I'm going to make sure that I start with just a clean slate. But here we are, looking like it's headed for a retest. I think that's completely fine if it does. I mean, it's had a really nice trend, really nice base breakout. I love when you break out for the first time after an IPO base like this. I think that's great. But looking heavy. I don't know. Did they report earnings soon or did they?
Coming up.
Coming up, yeah. Okay, so May, few weeks, May 8th. So I could see a scenario where we do, maybe after earnings it sells off and retests that $60 level. But overall, the breakout's on, is falling short of its target here around 91. I think that's still the target. Whether or not you get the retest before you hit the target, who knows? But I mean, your levels are pretty clearly defined here. It's 60 and 90, and that gives you plenty of juice. So
I like it. Good stuff, Patrick.
I like it. Dude, we had some good ones. What was that one I liked? The energy one. Was it CHRD?
CHRD. Yeah. Really
Yeah,
good. Really good.
very nice.
So thank you everybody as always for participating and joining us today. We will be back here as always Tuesday, 1 o'clock Eastern time. I'll be back on the charts. Pat will be back this time next week. In the meantime, join us on the morning show every morning, 8:30 to 10 o'clock Eastern time, right here on Stock Market TV. Happy Thursday, everybody. Have a great rest of your week.
Good stuff. Have a good weekend.